Two old, bulky, and damn stubborn cruisers go head to head today as we put the Pillar of Autumn from Halo against the Battlestar Galactica. Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another Starship versus episode. You guys have been asking for me to return to this series, so if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Also, because I'm doing this as a video premiere, you guys can talk to me down in the chat and also vote in the upper right hand corner on who you think will win. I'm curious to see what you guys expect, but let's get started with a breakdown of each ship, and we're going to see a lot of similarities here. Both the Battlestar Galactica and the Pillar of Autumn were considered antiquated ship types within their universes. Both relied on conventional rather than energy weapons, both are tough and served as a sort of lifeboat for the good guys. We'll start with the Galactica. Battlestars were the main warship of the 12 colonies during the Cylon War and beyond. The Jupiter class, of which the Galactica was the second ship produced, was the first true Battlestar class. And before we continue, I'd like to give a huge thank you to Daniel from Space Dock. He helped me with the Galactica's tech specifications and, along with Star Wars Explained, helped to talk through some of the nuances of the battle itself. I'll put a link down to his channel below. Anyway, Jupiter Class Battlestars were nearly 1.5 kilometers long with an armored central body and 2 flight pods. The Battlestar Galactica is shown throughout the series to be a very durable vessel. It survives direct munitions hits, including nuclear blasts, though not without damage. Like the Autumn, the Galactica, at least from the later series, is unshielded, relying solely on its thick hull and armor. It should be noted, speaking of armor, that the Galactica as it existed during the series may have had some of its armor removed as it was retired or retiring from active service. Weapon-wise, the Galactica uses projectile and kinetic weapons. In total, the stock Galactica used 24 artillery batteries, which can fire flak or anti-ship munitions. These weapons are extremely effective, and we can see them tearing apart base stars, though they are unguided and seem somewhat limited in range. In addition, the Galactica had 12 missile tubes which could fire nuclear warheads. Perhaps the most interesting aspect of the Galactica's weaponry is its extensive anti-fighter and anti-munitions weapon systems. Aside from flak cannons, the Galactica had over 500 computer-operated point defense guns. These would create nearly impenetrable flak walls to the flank of the ship, which proved very effective against the Cylons, who typically used missiles. One of the Galactica's most important aspects was its fighter complement. The Jupiter Battlestar carried several hundred Raptors and Vipers, which were launched from 80 powered tubes. Vipers especially are incredible fighters, very fast, maneuverable, and decently armed. These fighters are one of the Battlestar's main advantages. Unless countered, they will be able to chew away at the unshielded hull of the Pillar of Autumn. Another advantage, which I haven't covered yet, is faster than light travel. FTL in the Halo universe is extremely inaccurate, at least UNSC wartime FTL, and even intra-system slipspace jumps were fairly difficult. We see with the Adama maneuver that ships in Battlestar Galactica are capable of performing micro in-system jumps. We do see this more directly with starfighters, and large ships don't usually make micro combat jumps during battle, but it is perhaps a possibility. I asked Space Dock about this, who said Deadlock, which is a Battlestar Galactica game, heavily features tactical FTL jumps. Although of course Deadlock is not the Battlestar Galactica show, it is canon. That game makes it clear that jumps over very short distances like that require very advanced computers and are not standard. It's presumably more difficult for warships than things like Raptors. During the early First Cylon War, it was almost exclusively an advantage the Cylons had because of their better tech, but tactical jumps could well be a lot more achievable by the colonies by the time of the show. We'll return to this, but let's now break down the Pillar of Autumn. The Pillar of Autumn was a Halcyon Class Light Cruiser. The Halcyon generally was considered a poor ship type by the time of the Human Covenant War, with subpar speed and weaponry. However, the Halcyon provided a good base for upgrades and refits, which brings us to the Pillar of Autumn. The Autumn maintained the exceptional durability and survivability of the Halcyon, the class's Class's best aspect while sporting upgraded power generation and weaponry. The reactor, for example, of the Pillar of Autumn was so powerful that its destruction broke apart Installation 04. The Pillar of Autumn is essentially a flying gun. It's built around a specialized light coil magnetically accelerated cannon. This weapon is different than other Macs because it fires 3 lighter projectiles, though the triple firing probably has increased stopping power when compared to a standard cruiser-based Mac with the same exceptional range and accuracy. The Autumn's Mac especially were effective against unshielded targets, as they could penetrate armor and were made to fragment, causing internal damage. The main issue with Macs is that they run through the entire host vessel, so the ship must be oriented totally to hit a target and can only target enemies directly in front of it. The Pillar of Autumn is smaller and likely faster and more maneuverable than the Galactica, but we should keep this limitation in mind. Additionally, the Autumn made use of the standard UNSC Archer missiles as well as ship-launched and fighter-launched nukes, both of which should be easily countered by the Galactica's flak. The Autumn also carried a number of longsword fighters, which should be easy pickings for the fighters, and again, that exceptional flak. For point defense, the cruiser had more than 20 cannons and batteries of various size and type. These provided complete cover for the vessel, and when operated by Cortana, were nearly impenetrable to projectile weapons. Besides for the Mac, which I'll touch on in a moment, Cortana is by far the Autumn's biggest advantage here. She is significantly more advanced than a dumb AI, which itself blows ordinary computer systems like those on the Galactica out of the water. Cortana will be able to get every ounce of efficiency out of the Autumn's guns and systems, while also managing the battle on a macro level, at a skill far beyond that of a human. But let's get to the actual battle itself. The Pillar of Autumn's Mac is the deciding factor here. I sincerely doubt that the Galactica could survive a 3-round burst, as even a single shot from a much smaller frigate-based Mac can typically disable an unshielded Covenant cruiser. The Covenant would use much more advanced materials in their Starship construction, and the Autumn's Mac is many times more powerful than that found on a frigate. What's more, the Autumn will be susceptible to internal damage caused by the Mac's fragmentation. The Battlestar's issues are compounded by the fact that magnetic accelerator cannons, especially when fired by AI, have exceptional range, and the flak fields of the BSG likely will not be enough to affect the projectile. I really do think that without trickery, in an even head-to-head battle, the Mac cannon of the Autumn, which is the most powerful and effective weapon in this battle by perhaps an order of magnitude, should make light work of the Galactica. How can the Battlestar respond? Well, it could try to avoid the shot conventionally, but I don't think that's possible, given what we know of the Autumn's reactor and the ship's smaller and probably more maneuverable features. But what about a micro jump? Such a thing would be extremely difficult for an advanced ship, and even more so for an older one like the Galactica. The cruiser would also need to pull in its flight wings or risk major structural damage. However, if it was able to do a micro jump, I think appearing directly to the side of the Autumn and firing all of its weapons, as we know it's capable of doing, could be an effective strategy, especially where the Autumn is only really able to effectively engage enemies directly in front of it. The point defense guns of the Galactica, combined with the more numerous weapons generally, should be enough to neutralize any UNSC munitions while also out-damaging the other ship. But I don't really think the Galactica could reliably pull off this maneuver. It's not something the ship is seen doing in battle without significant prep time, planning, and calculations. And I think the Autumn will actually end things with a devastating Mac barrage precisely aimed by Cortana long before there's time for the Galactica to execute something like this. And that's generally how UNSC ships work. They hit enemies with overwhelming firepower in waves, like a sort of glass cannon. They struggle against Covenant ships largely because the first barrage is neutralized by shields, and the Macs can only actually do damage once these shields are down. This leaves them vulnerable to energy attacks, but the ships are actually well designed for facing off against unshielded enemies. Again, because of this focus on range, accuracy, and extremely high damage in limited shots. Because I do think this battle will be over quickly, I don't see fighters playing a major role, and it's my opinion that the UNSC Pillar of Autumn takes this battle 8 times out of 10. The reason I don't decide higher in favor of the UNSC Cruiser is because I do leave open the possibility of the Galactica somehow avoiding the Mac barrage, whether that's with a micro jump, some sort of maneuver, or something else. That, however, is just my opinion. I would love to hear what you guys think. Did I get this wrong? Did I miss something? Or did I do a good job? Let me know that, as well as a matchup you'd like to see next down in the comments. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, this has been Eckhart's Ladder. I hope you enjoyed this premiere. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, and come back for more. Until next time, may the Force be with you.